In this Fixed Gear Q&A, we'll talk about whether clipless pedals may be worth it for you, talk about off-road fixed gear riding and racing, and my #1 piece of advice for new fixed gear riders, plus more coming up. What's up? I'm Gallardo. Life is short, but don't make it shorter, so ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous, and consider subscribing and hitting the like button so YouTube can know to recommend you more fixed gear videos just like this one. And of course, you can find the questions and the timestamps in the description or linked in the top comment, and feel free to check out the gear that we're talking about in this video linked in the description. And shout out to Wabi Cycles for sponsoring the channel and helping to make these fixed gear videos possible. Wabi sent me their Wabi Thunder for me to build up and review, and we spec'd it to be the ultimate fixed gear commuter bike. The Thunder has a few features that just make a lot of sense if you're trying to build up the ultimate fixed gear commuter, like quick handling geometry that's a lot of fun on the streets. It's constructed out of Reynolds 725 tubing to keep the ride quality light and springy. All the mounts for racks and fenders you could possibly want, and of course, that gargantuan tire clearance that can fit up to 45C tires with room to spare. If you're looking to build up a tracklocross bike or do anything go anywhere type of bike, you can watch my buildup of the Wabi Thunder by clicking the card above or by sticking around to the end of the video to click the link at the end. Is clipless better than straps? If you want to go as fast as possible on your bike and have the absolute ultimate performance, then yes, clipless is going to be better than straps or toe clips and straps, since it gives you the ultimate feeling of connectedness with your bike, has better power transfer, and some people say that it allows you to pedal more in circles rather than just stomping down and pedaling in squares, so to speak. But all that performance comes at a cost, especially if you're riding SPDSL shoes, which can be a nuisance to walk in. It's like trying to walk in reverse heels. Feel so sassy walking in these shoes. If you want to be as fast as possible and you're willing to pay the price in the form of inconvenience, then clipless is for you. The reason I don't ride clipless anymore brings us to our next question. Do you know of any cycling shoe that doesn't actually look like a cycling shoe? I've used DZR shoes and Quack shoes. Both these companies make cycling shoes that are a bit more stylish, and they come in both mountain bike clipless or non-clipless varieties. DZRs tend to look more casual, while Quack tends to look a bit classier and snazzier. I used to ride the DZR Midnights, I think is what they were called, and the Quack Urbanite Mids. And while I loved them a lot, the reason I'm not riding them anymore is because of the durability, and both of them had the same issue. While they are cycling shoes, I have a suspicion that they weren't designed with the different forces that a fixed gear rider puts on the shoes, i.e. pulling up on the shoes when backpedaling. Because of that, with both of these pairs of shoes, the shoes completely separated from the sole. The shoes tend to be pretty expensive, and if you're riding fixed gear, you could expect them to last between 6 months to a year, maybe a year and a half. That's how long each of my 3 pairs of cycling shoes that don't look like cycling shoes last. But if you're not riding clipless, you can look into getting Vans. A lot of fixed gear riders absolutely swear by Vans, and right now Vans seem to be one of the most, if not the most durable pair of shoes that are readily available and that you can just get off the shelf. What do you think about kickstands? I actually considered getting a kickstand, and the answer to that question comes down to how much do you value the looks of your bike versus the utility of your bike. Because adding a kickstand definitely makes it more convenient, but definitely makes it uglier, at least in most people's eyes. I thought about getting a kickstand because here in Taiwan you can only park your bike in certain designated areas, and bike parking isn't always readily available. And sometimes when it is, they don't have any bike racks. It's just a painted rectangle on the sidewalk where people can kickstand their bike. But I dislike the looks of a kickstand more than I like the usefulness of a kickstand. So I'd rather deal with the inconvenience of having to hunt around for bike parking than being able to just kick it out and park it anywhere. By the way, I would only park my bike with the kickstand in a super safe place like Taiwan. Otherwise, if I'm back home in the US, there's no way I'm parking it with a kickstand and I'm finding an immovable object to lock my bike with. Kickstands are kind of unnecessary, just find a wall and you're good. Can a Fixie be a good dirt and gravel trail bike? Yes, if you love fixed gear enough. regardless of where you're riding your fixed gear, it's going to come into the same limitations, is that you only have one gear, maybe two if you have a flip-flop hub. So your range of gearing is going to be very limited. And if you're riding out on more technical trails, because the cranks are always spinning, you might have trouble clearing some obstacles. Know that, like riding fixed gear anywhere, riding fixed gear off-road will be less convenient, but that inconvenience presents a set of challenges that can make riding the bike more fun than a geared bike. The benefit of a fixed gear gravel trail bike, you don't have to worry about dropping your chain or derailleurs getting knocked. They'll be more reliable, so you can focus 100% of your attention on riding and having fun on your bike. Do you think that tracklocross can become a more competitive sport and be more popular? I would like to think so, but tracklocross as a sport has some challenges to overcome before it becomes really popular, because fixed gear riding is niche and tracklocross is a niche within fixed gear riding. For the most part, tracklocross is fixed gear riders that also want to ride off-road and not cyclocross riders that also want to ride fixed gear. Because it's a niche within a niche, it'll be challenging for tracklocross to gain widespread popularity. It either needs to be as interesting as regular cyclocross to attract more people, so more events can happen on a regular basis, and to make it worthwhile in terms of money, so people will want to participate in these events. Tracklocross and cyclocross are really interesting because cyclocross is one of the only cycling disciplines where single-speed riders compete directly with people on geared bikes, and in some cases even outperform people on geared bikes. So it'll be interesting to see where tracklocross, fixed gear cyclocross racers fit into that mix, and if organizers can give people a reason to care about tracklocross other than the intrinsic values that we as fixed gear riders see, that it's fun. Recommended gear ratio for city, you could watch a video I made on this by clicking here, but something like 48/17 is a good place to start. And is it possible to have two gear ratios with a flip-flop hub? Yes, it is possible to have two different gear ratios. I actually have two ratios on my hub. I have a 19 tooth and a 17 tooth. The limiting factor here will be your track ends and your frame's clearance with the rear wheel. Most fixed gear bikes can have a range between 2 to 3 teeth, maybe 4 if you have really long track ends and a lot of clearance. But because the rear wheel moves in the dropout according to the gear ratio, that'll be the determining factor on how big or how small of a cog you can go in relation to your current cog. How to deal with motorist road rage. You gotta understand that there's just some people in this world that absolutely hate anybody on two wheels for no apparent reason, and that there's not much that you can do to change their mind, especially if you're on a bike and they're in their car. Straight up, the best thing that you can do is just ignore them. Let them angrily drive off and just continue to be happy riding your bike. It's helpful to have at least a little bit of empathy for people with road rage, because if they're that unreasonably angry at someone on a bike just living their life, using the road and minding their own dang business, they've got to be having a pretty bad day or living a pretty miserable existence. And they're probably just taking out their feelings on an easy target, a cyclist on the road, who is the bottom of the food chain on the road. I actually made a video on this. It's really old though, but you could watch it here if you're interested. How often should you clean your bike if you ride it daily? Once per week to once every 2 weeks is a good amount. Keeping your bike clean is the #1 best thing that you can do to prevent mechanical issues with your bike and to keep your bike running smoothly and fun to ride for years to come. It also just saves you a lot of time and money in the long run, so once to twice a week should be enough if you ride every day. What's your #1 piece of advice for people that are just getting into fixed gear riding? Just have a lot of fun riding your bike, because fixed gear riding is a lot of fun. Cyclists are some of the most opinionated people that I've ever come across. If you're new to fixed gear riding, it's almost certain that you will come across other cyclists that think fixed gear riding is entirely stupid and that you should go out and get a geared bike. You'll come across those haters that will say fixed gears are just for hipsters that haven't sold enough coffee yet to buy a Vespa. And you'll even come across other fixed gear riders that'll call you a poser or a hipster elitist and say that the way that you ride your bike and the type of bike that you ride is wrong and that they ride their bike the right way, so you should listen to them. But the #1 most important thing is just to have fun on your bike. If you're having fun on your bike, all of this is just noise. And if you're having fun on your bike, you'll want to ride it more, which will make you a stronger rider, which will then encourage you to ride more and become an even stronger rider. Remember, fix your riding is all about having fun. That's probably why you're riding fixed in the first place. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. What difference does the number of holes in a rim make when building a wheel, and how do we choose between them? More spokes on a wheel make it stronger, you can build it stiffer, and they make it more durable. Less spokes on a wheel is less material. It's going to be lighter, meaning it'll be easier to accelerate from stops, and it'll be a bit easier to climb in lighter wheels. The problem there is that less spokes means it's less durable. The standard spoke count is 32 spokes in the front and rear. This gives a nice balance of being a reasonable weight while still being durable enough for daily street use. But if you want your wheels to be either more durable or lighter, then you could add or remove spokes. A 72 spoke wheel set, that's 32 in the front and rear, is a good option if you're really rough on your bike, or if you weigh around 200 to 220 pounds, which is about 100 kilograms. With more spokes, the tension will be more evenly distributed throughout the wheel, so it'll take stress better, meaning you don't have to true it as often as something with less spokes. But if you want your wheel set to be lighter, that brings us to our next question. Is having a 24 hole rim set better than 32 holes and above in terms of riding in the city and doing laps? To answer that question, you need to answer what you want to have out of your bike. If you want durability and you absolutely thrash your bike up and down curbs, you tank potholes, you occasionally ride down stairs, then no, 2024 is a horrible option for that, and you're going to need to true it a lot. But if you really value quick acceleration and keeping the weight down on your bike as low as possible, then yes, 2024 is a good choice for that. I actually would not go any lower than 2024 for daily street use. That's what I'm riding now on my Wabi sub 15 wheels, and anything lower for most people would build too fragile of a wheel. Even 2024 is pushing it. I'd only recommend to go this low if the wheels are built by a very good wheel builder. I've been riding on my sub 15s for the past year and a half now. There's about a 2mm wobble in the front wheel. I've been absolutely thrashing my bike. But even when I was on the phone with Wabi and I told them how I use the wheels, they told me that this isn't typical of the wheels. They usually don't take this much abuse, and that most people of my stature, 6 foot, 170 pounds, would be better off on their 32 spoke wheels. Generally, 2024 is great if you're small and you want your bike to be really light. Otherwise, 32 is the standard for a reason. But if you're looking for a fixed gear that has mounts for fenders, rack, and can definitely handle bike packing or gravel riding, check out my buildup of the Wabi Thunder. And Fixie famous shout out to Ryan Witt and Stand Strong 108 for helping to make these fixed gear videos possible through their support on Patreon.